People want to be seen and heard. And we go right back to the beginning now to this, you've got a gift, who are you not to share it? Yeah. That you get to provide that human need within somebody of significance. You're here, you created this business to help people. And who are you not to do it? Take your ego out, stop thinking it's about you. It's not. It's about your values, creating that connection and serving your people. And when you settle into that, it's so much easier to be visible because it's not about you anymore.
Hi, Dani Wallace. Welcome to the HoLT Survival Guide for Small Businesses. I'm really excited about this conversation because we've known each other a couple of years now, and we'll touch on how our relationship started, I think. But before we get into it and the giggling starts,
I know I'm really struggling already.
I'm being really serious as well. Like, I'm being serious professional version of me.
And when you have to be serious, it's even worse. You don't have to shake it out a minute.
We don't have to be serious.
Fine.
And you're absolutely fine to swear. So that's fine. We've already got the parental thing for me, so it's fine. So before we get into the good stuff, I mean, this is good stuff, but tell our listeners, our watchers, who you are and what you do.
So I am Dani Wallace and I'm the Queen Bee, which is a ridiculously audacious statement to make. And it's actually much less about me and much more about the community that I've created. Yeah. I'm an international celebrity public speaking coach, which sounds really wanky, but it's true. So I help people, particularly from marginalised genders and backgrounds, take up space using their superpower hidden in plain sight, their voice. So as part of that, I am very lucky that I run one of the fastest growing business and personal development events here in the UK, the Big Festoon, where we help people from lots of different backgrounds. We create safe spaces to have conversations that matter about life and business, because as well you know, and we talk about this often, when you're an entrepreneur and when you own a business, the two are very inextricably linked. Yeah. And the more safe spaces that we have now more than ever to have conversations that are centered in success and also acknowledge our lived experience, the better.
Yeah.
Things that I do.
And I had no idea who you are when I
don't know
met
how,
you.
because I'm famous.
But we move in different circles in terms of business, or we did, because you were very much, you built your brand on Facebook and sort of Instagram as well, whereas I built my brand on LinkedIn. And until that point, our paths hadn't crossed.
No.
But when they did cross, I remember seeing you. So we were at Atomicon and we were both speaking on the same stage. And it was my first ever big speaking gig. Yeah. And you knew I was nervous, you could tell. And
I could feel it from you across the room.
I think I'm not good at hiding my nerves. I'm not good at hiding my feelings, despite the Botox. Like, I still have my feelings written all over my face. And you grabbed me and you dragged me up on that stage and you were like, feel what it feels like. And immediately I was like, this is a person I need in my life, because you've got a real exceptional warmth about you and an accepting nature of who people are and the way they show up in the world. There's something immediately that you feel from you when you meet you. And I was lucky enough to go to the Big Festoon in March, and not going to lie, I was really overwhelmed.
It's a lot,
but in the nicest way. Everyone was lovely. It was very, like, some of the talks, like, I had tears in my eyes. Yeah. They were really, really moving, but everybody just seemed to get along. And I resonate with that, because that's the same with my membership community.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about including people. But one of the things that you're exceptionally good at is helping business owners to show up in the world as they are, get visible, and get comfortable with being visible. Yeah. I am not comfortable with my visibility, or I've become more comfortable, but it was a real struggle for me. And I think I'm not alone.
You're almost accidentally visible. Like, it's not something that wasn't the intention when you set out, right? I'm going to be super famous, or I'm going to be, and I'm joking when I say, like, how dare you not know who I am? It's a running joke, in my community, where as part of my growing visibilities, I would go into rooms where nobody knew me and I'd sit next to somebody and I'd say, listen, I've got a favour to ask, like, don't tell anybody, but I'm really famous. And if people find out that I'm here, it's going to be diabolical. Well, there's going to be, the people going to queue up, they're going to want selfies, they're going to want autographs. So don't tell anyone that I'm here. And that person would go, what's your Instagram handle? Like, go and start to check me out, follow me. And then I would walk away from that conversation. They would say to them, I've just been sat next to somebody called Dani Wallace and they're famous. And then through the room, that whisper campaign would, and that's kind of how I built my audience. And it was intentional about me becoming more visible. Whereas kind of conversely with you is you were showing up just being you and doing you.
During COVID, hidden behind a computer screen when the real world didn't really exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of being a lighthouse, I think, is probably the best way I would describe the way that you are. It's not your intention to go out there and have everybody know who you are. But what you tend to do is, because you speak so much sense and so much common sense as well. Like, it's like, come on, people, let's just be normal. Let's stop trying to be somebody else here and let's just accept and embrace who we are. You end up being a lighthouse by default because it gives people permission, and people start to instantly, when you said, like, Dani, you've got this way about you. I think one of the things that brought us together as friends is that we do that, albeit in very different ways. We do that very thing for our communities. We give permission by being ourselves, by being unapologetic about who it is that we are, how we feel, whatever quirks we have. We give people permission just by existing. Just by being ourselves, to do that for themselves. And that's really magnetic, really super magnetic.
Yeah, and because I have hundreds of people in my community that are business owners, there's often a lot of resistance to use of social media, posting selfies, posting videos. There's a lot of discomfort because they don't want to be seen as trying to be attention seekers. You can't be marketing your business on the internet without being an attention seeker. Right. No one in the history of the internet has ever written on the internet who hasn't wanted attention. That's
marketing
the entire
is to
point.
Seek attention. Like, that's the point of marketing, is to go and find attention from your ideal people and to move them toward you. Like we are, by default, we have to be.
I always say, like,
in some way, shape, or form.
If I didn't want attention, I'd write in my diary. Right, you would. So, but what I'm trying to get at, I guess, is, what are the sort of first steps if someone's starting their own business and they need to market themselves online, right? Yeah. They don't have a massive budget to be placing ads in magazines and things like that. And even if you do, you need to have your face. When you are the business, your face needs to be on it. And there are people that say, oh, well, I don't look good in photos and no one wants to hear me speak. I've got a weird voice. Like, what do you say to people that gives them that kick up the butt to go, none of that matters. What matters is, because that confidence to really take that first step into visibility.
So there's a couple of layers. There's a couple of things at play. Like, first of all, what we tend to do, whether we like it or not, we're very ego-driven beings, right? And our ego is there to keep us safe. And what we often misconstrue ego as is this need to be the center of attention. And there's a difference between wanting to be center of attention and attracting attention so that you can help people. And when we're sitting in ego like that, where it's about you, actually, you're not really thinking about the real thing here, which is helping the people that you are here to help. I am very lucky that I move in circles where the business owners that are in my community, same as with your community, I know very, very few people that have created a business who don't want to help somebody. Even if they're in a product-based business, if they're in a service-based business, if they're in retail, if they're in hospitality, they're fixing something for someone. And if you think that people buy things for 5 different reasons, right? So they buy things because it saves them money, because it makes them money, because it saves them time, it sets them ahead of the competition, or it creates an experience for them that enhances their life in some way, shape or form. So be that by a sense of community, be that luxury, be whatever it is, but they're really the 5 reasons why people buy. And so when we are a business owner, we're fixing those problems for somebody. And I was on The Voice, so I'm a singer as well as some other bits and pieces.
You're just an all-round performer.
I just can't help it. It's actually really centered in trauma, like it is. So I grew up.
All the best things about us are always centered in trauma, aren't they?
There's a lot. The trauma's got a lot to answer for, and it's got a lot to, kind of not be grateful for. I would never be grateful for trauma per se, but I'm grateful for my ability to to utilize it to my advantage now. And so I grew up in a space where things like addiction and domestic abuse were rife and were an inherent part of the information that I received as I was growing up and the experiences that I had. And I found that if I was performing, if I was singing or I was making people laugh, they weren't arguing.
So you hear that story on repeat, don't you, from comedians? If someone says you're a comedian, you always hear that, okay, but which one of your parents was depressed?
Yeah.
Because it's that need to make people happy.
You're funny, are you all right?
Yeah, there's something that wasn't right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, isn't it? That need to make people happy, that need to please people.
Yeah.
But actually that lends itself really well to business.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
we
does.
probably have to rein in the people pleasing because we end up
For sure.
killing ourselves doing it.
Yeah.
But that need to serve others, that need to help people is a good thing.
It really is.
It is a good thing.
And when harnessed. And I think that, as we talk about becoming more yourself or being confident in marketing yourself, it's an inside job in the first instance. And having really firm boundaries, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later on, but having really firm boundaries with yourself is the ultimate act of self-care and actually teaches people how to treat you as well.
Yeah.
So, but I was telling you, I was a singer, and I was on The Voice in 2014, the TV show. And don't get excited, they didn't show me. I was devastated.
Wounded.
Not even because
my
I was
God.
rubbish. I was really good, but I was the penultimate performer for the series in 4 days of filming, and they show or they allow every single performer to perform for the coaches. We're not allowed to call them judges because that's the X factor for the coaches.
Right.
And at the time it was will.i.am, Tom Jones, Rita Ora and Ricky Wilson. I know. I got to smell his aftershave. It was everything I could do not to lick his face because that would not have been consensual. I was like, he smelled great. So I'd been through this whole process of going to all these auditions and going to interviews and being psychoanalyzed to make sure that it was safe. Like the BBC were really good. Their welfare program was really, really good to make sure that actually people are well enough to take part and they can be resilient enough to take part. Because obviously once you're on TV, there's a lot of eyes on you. And one thing about that process was that it was very good with the welfare side of things. But so at that time, 2014, I wasn't working for myself in this capacity full time at that point. I was singing full time. I was singing in like pubs and clubs. And from the way that I'd been brought up and the society that we were in, that reality TV was the only way that I was going to make it as a singer. I wasn't classically trained. I didn't go to the Brit School or Sylvia Young or all the places that atypically performers go. I'd really cut my teeth on the streets. I wasn't like typically pretty, so I wasn't magazine pretty or, Instagram pretty or anything like that. I was a portly size 16, wearing kind of vintagey stuff, but I could sing, I'm good. And so anyway, the directors and the producers were like bigging you up, like this could be your moment, this could be your J Hood moment, and you're going to blow them away, and they kind of pace you up and down, like they know what they're doing, they're creating tension and telly and anyway, so I sang for them and I did a great job and nobody turned around. So I'm stoically crying on the, I thinking on the TV. And nobody turned around and we've got like will.i.am, Rita Ora there, like, and Will, particularly Will and Tom are people that I really respect in the music industry. And Tom Jones, when, I got no criticism for your love, like this, that was a really shit Welsh accent.
We're not cutting it.
Like, oh God, I'm sorry for the Welsh contingency of our listeners. But he said, like, I've got no criticism for your love. I'm full. I can't take on any more singers. I can't take on any more performers for my other, had you been earlier on in the process, I'd have been able to have said yes. And I can't say no. I can't say yes to you today. And Rita Ora was like, I have space, but I don't think that your particular genre is something that I would be able to coach you well enough in for us to get success in the process. And Ricky was like, I don't like the song that you sang.
I'm worried you're going to lick my face.
Well, that too. I'm scared for my safety. No, he was very safe. But he didn't like the song and I didn't have a say in the song. The producers kind of pieced together all of that sort of stuff. So I felt like that was kind of out of my hands. I sung it as best as I could. Yeah. And will.i.am, we're friends, we're not. We've had a conversation, which means I can name drop forever. Said, Daniela, he called me by my Sunday name because like I was the fabulous Miss G at the time is how I was marketing myself. He's like, Daniela, why are you crying? Because you can imagine, this is my shot. Stoically crying. And I was like, Will, this feels like my only shot. Like, I don't want to go on other programs really. This is the one that I have the most respect for. This is the one where the coaches here are people that I would want to work with if I was given another
pantomime.
Yeah, elsewhere. And he was like, whoa, I need you to know something. I got a feeling was the Black Eyed Peas song. We knocked on doors for years with that song. And for years and years and years, people said no. They don't think that that's a good song for us to release. And we released songs before we actually released this song. And there are 7.5 billion people in the world, Dani. And only 4 said no today. Out of 7.5 billion people in the world. Not one of these people sat next to me have said that you don't have a gift. You've got a gift. And the challenge to you now is, who are you not to share it? Like, if you've got this gift, who are you not to share this gift that you have with the world? And that actually translated a lot into the work that I do now, and a lot of what I say, and now I've said this to you, in the times when you felt like a little bit dark about stuff and about being more visible, is that it's not about you. And one of the things I adore about you is that, the whole and everything that you've created, it's, yes, you're the person of influence within it because you've created it, the creator of it, but you're actually a conduit. It's not about you, it's about the community. For me, my stages aren't about me. Am I a great performer? Yeah. Do people enjoy watching me perform? But I'm not setting up the Dani show. I've created the big festoon for my community. I help people speak so that I can give them the microphone.
And so that they can all connect with each other.
Correct.
And that's something that I guess we've sort of segued into talking more about community, but I think it's a really important point that a lot of people get wrong with communities because they're sort of there as the top person, and everybody's there to be around that person. And so it's always on that person or their team to answer all the questions.
It's very strange idol worship within that as well, and very strange celebrity that comes with it.
And I don't resonate with that version of community. For me, it's much more about bringing in the people that support one another, because you get these, and I don't think they're communities, I call them more memberships. If there's one person at the top and everybody's vying for their attention and their answers and all of that, that's great, but that's a membership. A community is where you're fostering and encouraging relationships between the members.
Yes.
And that's something that is really important for me within hosting a community, because I think that's where the true value is. There's only so much of me that can go around.
Yeah.
I am only one person, and I have my community managers who are exceptional and do a brilliant job. But it's the stuff I don't even know about. It's the relationships between the members, the WhatsApp group chats that go on that I don't know about. I've just witnessed the tip of this iceberg, and it won't be until I'm having conversations with people that they go, oh, well, I'm actually working with this person, and me and this person have met up for coffee, and I'm like, wow, I have no idea that the breadth of this community mutual relationships that are going on, and I love to find out about that. But going back to talking about like the visibility issues, what do you think is the main fear that business owners have? Do you think it's what are people going to say about them? Is it about like what's going to come? Like, are they going to get negativity? Like, where do you think that? And you know best because you work with all these people. Where's that fear from?
I think it's broad. So here's what happens, right? When you are, so let's just talk public speaking, like just as a one discipline.
Because this is the one thing that terrifies me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is biology at play here when we're experiencing fear. If we think about fear is actually a hormonal reaction to danger. Right, so the physical aspects and also some of the kind of the thought aspects of fear. There's biology at play as well as intrinsic psychology. We are, as a species, not built for our rapidly changing social construct. Right? We're not built for it. We are really still meant to be living in forests. If we think about evolution and the way that evolution happens and the period of time in which evolution happens, the things that we've created are faster moving than our physical ability to keep up with it. right? And that really throws us off kilter, right? So you think people are experiencing health issues, psychological issues, so on and so forth. The reason is we are not built for the world we have created, whether we like it or not. And that's a pretty stark thing to say, because we're trying to navigate it and be in it and be successful and good people within it. But we're not built for it. And this is what happens when we are positioning ourselves as an alpha, which is what we're doing when we're public speaking, is we are taking an evolutionary behavior and putting it into a false construct. I know this is like stay with me.
I'm with you.
So what happens is when you position yourself as an alpha, there are three potential things that happen out in the animal world. So one is that the tribe that you are positioning yourself in front of will cast you out and you will starve to death in the wild on your own, right? And the construct around us would pretty much have it that most people have a Tesco or a Sainsbury's or a Spar shop on each corner, and you can go and buy a chocolate bar for 60p or a Freddo no longer for 10p more. I think like they are like
15, 20p now. I think,
very expensive Freddos. But you can for very little keep yourself sustained if you are cast out once you've positioned yourself as alpha in a particular group. What we're doing as business owners or public speakers or whoever's kind of marketing themselves, we are positioning ourselves essentially as an alpha in our particular industry or field. So if one of the outcomes is that we be cast out and left to die, the bit of our brain that is still essentially an animal, the limbic part of our brain that gives us these stress responses in order to keep us surviving, will start to fire off. There's another potential outcome is one that particular group of people will so vehemently not agree with your challenge to alpha is they will turn on you and kill you. All of a sudden, we're in our minds putting ourselves in mortal danger, right?
Yeah.
And so no wonder so many of us are having this visceral mortal danger response to putting ourselves in front of or in the limelight in front of people or positioning ourselves as alpha, because actually every bit of our body that is trying to keep us safe in our brain is firing off our adrenals, firing off cortisol, triggering a fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. And so these fears will manifest themselves in lots of different ways. They'll manifest themselves in flight, like, I don't want to do this, like, I'm going to get the fuck out of here.
That's what I do.
Right? Or freeze, like, I'm just going to be here, but I don't know what to do whilst I'm here, so I'm just going to stand really still and hope nobody notices me.
Also do that.
Also that. Or fight, like, I'm going to be so aggressive in this space that actually it's going to turn people off me because I'm like, I don't know how to be, so I'm going the other way. I'm like I don't know if you've ever been in a position where somebody's kind of hyper alpha themselves in a situation instead of just settling and being, and it's a big turn off. You can see the person who's dick swinging in the room, like that. Like, I'm okay for you, thank you very much. You aren't actually the most powerful person in the room. You're not like the most confident person in the room. I get that a lot with
people,
right?
They feel like they have to kind of. It will be the men whose shoulders go back and their chests go out.
It's more often than not
like
men.
Peacocking. Yeah, I mean, it's not solely men, but in my experience,
sure.
It's the men that sort of, they want to almost intimidate you.
Yeah, and that's a normal stress response.
Yeah.
It's a very normal stress response. And the idea, or fawn, which is conversely what a lot of women do, which is overgive, overplacate, over-yes things, overcommit. And then what we do is we end up sabotaging our own success and our own visibility because we've not been aware that this is actually what's at play. I'm freezing because of this. I'm fighting because of this. I'm fawning because of this. Or I'm getting the hell out of Dodge.
And actually the thing that, like you said at the start, is to be magnetic to people. It's fighting against all of those instincts to posture, to fawn, to run away, to fight.
Yeah.
You need to let go of all of that and breathe and just find how to be yourself. In a relaxed state. And as we both have come to do, and it's not come without a struggle for me, and I know naturally you are a performer, you've been a performer most of your life.
I've struggled with it most of my life too.
But that's the thing, people get it wrong, because I'm constantly mistaken as someone who's an extrovert because I have a lot of followers on the internet. Yeah. That I gained during COVID from my little utility room in my cold little
house. You and your introversion.
In my dressing gown and my slippers, and I was like, oh wow, people are paying attention. But it wasn't real.
Right.
At that point for me, it wasn't real. It was, I was in lockdown. I didn't go out of the house. I had
and
a
you don't have
child
to
at
physically
home.
experience that as well. And I think that's the thing that you struggle with, the physical experience of that kind of visibility is something else to contend with.
I started going out of the house,
Right.
and the world opened up, and I was being invited to events, and I would show up at events and people would know me,
right,
and they would come up to me, and I was like, and it was that what's the word, parasocial relationship, where people feel they know me but I don't know them. And I was really like, my fight or flight went in because I felt unsafe. I was like, these people know my name and they know about my life, but I don't even know who they are.
This is a perfect example of the constructs that we've created, us being animals, being at odds with that's going to create dissonance with you. It's going to, it has to, because it's not, parasocial relationships aren't natural.
Yeah.
Like, they feel it, but they're not. Like, if we think about who we are and what we are.
Back in tribal times, people from other tribes didn't know you existed because you just happen across each other in the wild, right?
And you would have really small circles as well,
Yeah.
like 150 max in like per tribe. And then you'd have break-off tribes. And yes, they'd know each other and they'd converse with each other, but your day-to-day wouldn't be 125,000 people or 150,000 people. It would be the people in your immediate family and your direct supports, your village. Our villages are huge now, especially when we're growing and, we're allowing ourselves to grow in that way. And that can be the scary thing. So what do? Is the question. So now we know this, is we can get really intentional about generating safety around it. And for you, it's choosing not to do certain things. For me, it's reconciling myself with, actually, this is an innate talent of mine that I've turned into more of a skill, because when you get intentional about your talents and turn them into skills, you can start to do great things with them. Yeah. And what you and I have done is, on both ends of the spectrum, is turn your talent of connecting people and being that conduit into a skill of creating your community. And for me, it's taking that talent of being a performer and a lighthouse, leading with all of my values, understanding that really no one's intentionally not rooting for me. And I think that causes a lot of fear, is that people are waiting for me to trip up. And that's stories that you'll be telling yourself from way back when, from maybe a teacher at school or a bully that you've come across or an ex-intimate partner or something like that. There are conversations that are at play when you're trying to be visible now that don't exist anymore.
I need to quickly interrupt our chat to tell you about our brilliant sponsor. Running your own business takes courage, dedication, and hard work. And that's why over 100,000 small businesses and freelancers count on Kudos to protect what matters most. From professional indemnity and public liability to personal accident and income protection coverage, you'll only pay for the protection your business actually needs, with no unnecessary extras. In a world of rising prices, Kudos has kept premiums steady for 8 years running. Plus, with their price match guarantee, you'll always get the best value without compromising on quality or service. Kudos understands that your business is more than just your work. It's your passion, your livelihood, and your future. Their policies and award-winning service are designed to give you complete peace of mind, so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. Head to kudoscontractor.com to learn more and use code LEA10 at checkout to get 10% off your first policy, subject to eligibility. Now, back to the conversation. And I've heard that so many times, especially from people who've have become business owners from coming from like corporate. There's a lot that happens in the corporate world to reduce who you are.
Yes.
And I think in school, we go to school. My son asked me this morning, he's like, why is it in America that the kids wear their own clothes to school and in England we wear uniforms? And I sort of tried to explain it, but it's from a very young age we're told to be like everybody else.
Conform.
Yeah, so whatever the true reasons behind us having uniforms, and to be fair, it's a lot easier for me not having to argue with him about what he wears in the morning. Yeah. It's just a uniform. Yeah. So as a parent, despite the ridiculous costs,
it's easy for a parent.
It's much easier. But it is that be like everybody else, and you can't have your hair crazy colours and don't have any piercings, and boys aren't allowed to have long hair, and all these things that say this is how you have to be in the world. Yeah. And we grow up learning that, and
it's
then
a product
we go
of the
to
Industrial
work.
Revolution.
Yeah,
like,
and then
we want
go
workhouses and factories, and
right,
and essentially our corporates now are the factories of today. It's mass employment and sort of that.
You must wear a skirt suit. You must. I mean, I know that it's not quite as bad as it used to be, but you've still got people coming out of corporate careers into owning a business, and they're like,
how do I be now?
I've spent so long being told the way I should be to fit in, to make it, to progress in my job. And I have to suck up to this person, and I have to not say things like that because I'll be hauled into HR. And you have to edit yourself. And I put it in a newsletter recently. You are literally proofreading your personality before it goes out to the world.
And then you don't know who you are within that. Then. Who am I then? And that's a big question to come out into the world with.
You do it for such a chunk of your life that it's like, I no longer know which part is me. And it's very much similar to like when you get an ADHD diagnosis and you realize so much of your personality was a mask.
How much am I? How much is this a symptom?
Which bits are real and which bits aren't real. Now, I feel quite lucky that I missed that part of my childhood where you start internalizing other people's opinions. I was in the middle of grieving for my recently deceased father at age 10. And that part of my brain that starts looking at how everybody else is doing things and trying to be like them, I skipped it because of grief and trauma. And so throughout my teens, I was just this weird little goth that gave absolutely no fucks what anybody else thought of me. I was still going through all of my stuff that I just didn't have the
I think
capacity.
We would have been friends at school, you know.
Oh, we absolutely we would have encouraged each other.
Little weirdos gravitated towards each other. That's what we are now.
Ears, because that's exactly what me and my friends just used to pierce each other's ears with studs while drinking White Lightning in a park somewhere. But it was like I missed all of that. So I never really internalized other people's judgments of me. I just didn't care. And I didn't care to be popular. I didn't care if boys fancy me. I didn't care until later in life when men looking at me made me feel unsafe and people were like, I couldn't get a job because of the way I looked. And I started feeling like, oh, well, actually there are things about me now that are impeding me. And everyone said, well, you never get a job with all those tattoos. You never do this, you never do that. And I just went, okay, well, I won't. And I'll just accept that. And I will learn to be content with a life that feels safe and mediocre, but it's all right. And I never pushed for anything more until I was around other people that showed me that it was okay to be me. And I started realizing people liked me for me. And that was a weird thing. I was like, never really cared if people liked me or not. But I've started to realize when I started writing online that other people were really relating to my words and were saying positive things and saying it would help them. And it spurred me on. And I imagine that's similar with your journey, right? And it's maybe that's the thing is with business owners is you've got to find a few of your own weirdos that make it okay to be that weird.
Absolutely.
And then you start unpeeling those layers.
I have this I have a talk that speaks to self-sabotage, right, and overcoming self-sabotage. And I would describe myself as a serial self-saboteur. I will, throughout my life, one of the things that I've found is that I'll get so far and then something will happen. And I'll get so far, like The Voice is a perfect example, right, that story around The Voice. I would get so far in my corporate life and something would happen, or I used to happen to it because I wasn't really being as me as I possibly could be. And I wasn't following, people talk really glibly about, if you're doing something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? I mean, I'm
doing something I love, but it's
a big fat lie. But essentially, it's easier to get out of bed to do it than it is in a space where you're not. So I have this story that I tell as part of a talk that speaks to overcoming self-sabotage. And I talk about crabs in a bucket.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I've seen this one,
Right. So
you're fantastic.
You've been crabbing down, I live near Blackpool, right? So going crabbing down the pier was something that we would do in the summer. We'd have a little bit of a stick with a string on it, bit of bacon, and go fishing for crabs, right? And fill a bucket up. And actually, there were studies that were done on crab behaviour within a confined environment, such as a bucket. And what they would find is that these crabs would climb over themselves. And then you get this one crab who would try and climb up the side of the bucket in order to escape, explore what was outside of the bottom of the bucket. But then what would happen is that there would be this one crab that would be climbing out, and then the other crabs would climb over that crab in a bid to either climb over the crab to get out or pull the crab back down. However you want to look at the analogy, the idea is that when you are surrounded by people who are super comfortable where they are, it's very difficult to see outside of it. And when you do surround yourself with people who you aspire to be like, or who are doing the thing that you want to do, and that's something that from sort of my mid-20s, late 20s started to do, because I found myself homeless. I'd experienced intimate partner abuse. I was homeless with my 2 kids under the age of 3. And I was like, this is not working for me.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I started to seek out the people that were doing the thing that I wanted to do, that were motivational speakers, that were being paid well for it, that had communities. And I started to share things. And this success leaves clues thing isn't just directly relating to how we make our money or how we build our businesses, but who we are as people. Like, find your weirdos. Like, that won't just elicit your financial success. That will be a real indicator of where your mental health is at, or how you work through things when things happen.
It's something that I mean, that was the basis for my talk at Atomicon, and it surprised people that I was encouraging people to be their weird selves on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is, it's notoriously a dry platform, but if you're moving in the wrong circles, it will be a very dry platform, and the algorithm is only going to show you boring berries and not like these bright, technicolor, amusing, intelligent weirdos that I am surrounded by on LinkedIn. And I love the platform for that, because the algorithms learn what I like, and it's dog people and technicolor people and diverse people and outspoken women, and I love that, because those are my people. Yeah. But it was encouraging people. So many people were just like, I just needed someone to stand on a stage and give me permission to stop trying to impress people that I don't care about. Yeah. And it's such something we're so guilty of as business owners, is especially at the beginning, before we put those boundaries in place, before we really get to learn what we want from the clients that we're serving. Who are those people? Who do I love working with? Who lights me up when I get the opportunity to work with them? Right. We want everyone to want to work with us, and we want everyone to think we're smart and appeal to everybody. And actually you realize fairly quickly that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And then you realize that you don't actually want to work with everybody, because there are people in this world who you won't like and who won't like you, and that's okay, because they're not your people.
Right, there's like 8 billion people in the world.
It's a lot. Right? I don't want to like that many people.
Even if 1%, only 1% of those people like you, that is still more people than you will ever meet in your whole life.
For sure.
So it's like, okay, that's fine. The probability is 1 in 8 is gonna maybe like me at that point. That's okay. I can piss off 7 people and 1 person's still gonna become my client. So that's pretty good odds. Yeah. Like, there's a very good chance it's probably
and
gonna
lucrative odds at that.
Yeah,
like,
you have to be a real knob of a person to not appeal to 7 out of 8 people, right? So I always spin it on that, and I think, well, if I only need a fraction of a % of people to be able to like me and want to work with me to make me enough money to live comfortably, that's not really that hard a job, is it? Yeah. So then I'm not worried if other people don't resonate, they don't like my posts, they don't want to work with me. I'm like, that's okay, because I don't have time to work with you all anyway.
So if we put that into the context of, let's think about things that we can intentionally think about so that we can be more visible, right? Once you realise that it's as important, when you're building out a client base, people that you want to connect with, people that you want to help, it's as important to turn people off as well as to turn people on. And that's not about you being divisive. You don't have to go out there and say really controversial things. Like, I don't necessarily say that much that's controversial. I say a lot of things in kindness. I believe that's our superpower. We all do well when we all do well. There's very few people that wouldn't agree with that. But to turn people off is as important to turn people on.
Massively.
What we do is we attach, so let's go back to thinking about ourselves as these biological beings, these animals, that our brains aren't looking for positivity. We enjoy it and we elicit dopamine from it, but our brains are instinctively looking for danger in order to keep us alive. Dangerous people aren't the people that like us. Dangerous people are the people that don't like us. And so we could, and this happens when we get feedback, right? I run an event, we could get out of 800 delegates, 2 people that say, I didn't like the food. And 798 people have just gone, I've had the most incredible experience of my life. And I'm going, oh shit, we need to work on the food. Like, I need to, like...
Yeah, we're all the same.
And we'll keep ourselves up at night for that one piece of feedback. And feedback is the breakfast of champions. Like, we need it, right? Yeah. But we also need to realise that it's a buffet table that we can choose from. We can sit and go, does that make sense? Is that relevant? Is that going to improve mine and my delegates and customers' experience? And if the answer is yeah, and it makes sense to it, fine. If someone goes... I didn't like that you wore a poo suit. I'm sorry, you're not at the right event, mate. Like, for anyone that doesn't know, my costumes are a thing. Like,
I mean, the first time I saw you speak on stage at Atomicon, you were throwing poo-shaped cushions out to the audience.
doing air guitar on my knees.
Who had to throw them back, and you caught them in a Lidl bag or something like that. And I was like, this is my kind of weirdo. She is extreme weird. I love it. And see it, and watching you be that weird on stage and so outrageous, and you came on singing a Queen song.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't Stop Me Now.
Don't Stop Me Now. And I was just like, oh my God, this is not like any talk I've ever been to. I mean, Atomicon is an unreal event for these kinds of people,
Yes.
and things that are unexpected, an amazing community. And I can't wait for this year's. But it's one of those, like, I just saw you and you were a lighthouse to me. I was like, I thought I was weird, but I'm not that weird.
But there's a reason why I
feel
do
good
that.
and normal. It made me realise that as weird and as odd and as
You
like
feel.
I never felt like I would fit in the business world ever.
Yeah.
And I still don't feel like I fit in. But now I'm surrounded by other people who also don't feel like they fit in. Our whole tagline for the business, for the community is where square pegs fit perfectly, because we're all square pegs.
Right.
Like, and actually square pegs are far more interesting.
And interestingly, when we look at the wider entrepreneurial space and the business ownership space, it's often because people have found that they're not unemployable, like they can't hold down a job, but they don't fit in that space. And it may be because they've experienced trauma. It could be that they are in some way, shape or form neurodivergent. It could be they're othered in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
And then when you find a community of people go, your otheredness is actually the bit I celebrate about you. The otheredness is actually the bit that makes you really interesting. Your lack of conformity or necessity to conform means that we can have an interesting relationship about your lived experience, and let's see how, we can celebrate each other. That becomes really joyful, and that becomes the thing that is the most attractive. And when anybody's building out like a client base or an audience or whatever it is that you want to call it when you're marketing yourself, we look at different things, right? Introversion and extroversion, and we talk about that. People mistake me for an extrovert, and actually I save up all of my energy, Hadouken it, out on an event or wherever it is that I am, and then I go have to wrap myself up like a burrito and recover and top back up again. Or, we'll go for a walk up Rivington Pike with the dogs, or, I'll have sit and have a coffee with a friend, or, call my best friend and like
Those
debrief.
things
And
that fill that battery back up a bit.
that come back down again. So understanding that there is we really don't understand, or we don't give enough to introversion and extroversion. We give almost too much to it. We can still market ourselves and be introverts. We can still market ourselves and be extroverts. The most confident people I know in some ways are introverted people, and the most not confident people are people who are pseudo extroverts. When we realise that that's just where you get your energy.
Yeah.
You just get your energy from being around people if you're an extrovert. Actually, my COO and me, people get us twisted the wrong way around.
She's extrovert.
She's the extrovert, but she's happy quietly in a group of people watching the room, absorbing the energy of the room. She's not the loudest person in the room, but she gets her most fulfillment. 2:00, sober as a judge in the morning at Albert Schloss, raving and misbehaving, well, not even misbehaving, just raving and enjoying being around that abundant energy is something that I don't particularly enjoy. I don't mind when I'm on the stage and that's my job in that moment. As soon as I hand that microphone back over, I'm sat with you in a corner somewhere, like on the floor, or, looking for where the dogs are, and all of that sort of stuff. So understanding that that's nothing to do with confidence for a start off. So understanding yourself when you're kind of marketing yourself and being more visible, being an introvert or extrovert shouldn't be the decider. It's just,
and you need to figure out what it is that fills you up and what drains you.
Yeah.
Because whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, once you can identify what are the things that fill you up and what are the things that drain you, you can tailor your outlook and your approach to
and your
things.
process as well.
Yeah, because I know that I love being in small social groups and where I know people and we can have really great conversations. I don't do well in big crowds with big groups of people. I can fake it. I can save up my energy and do it for a night, and
You've got to know about it beforehand though and take a run
build
up.
Right? But if you suddenly, and I wasn't in the right space when I came to the big festoon. I was not, I was really excited about it, but I arrived and I was like, wow, this is a lot bigger and a lot louder and a lot more sparkly. And it was the tunnel.
Oh, the stride of pride.
A group of people that were sort of either side, which I could see people absolutely loved. And I walked in and they all cheered. And I was supposed to walk down this gauntlet of people. And I think I just like swerved and went round it. I was like, it just totally surprised me. And I wasn't expecting to be recognised there because it was your community and your world on Facebook. And I didn't realise it naively that there was so much crossover. And I walked in and
there's that process ownership.
Because I hadn't prepared myself for the fact that I was going to have to be LinkedIn Leah, not just
Leah, my mate, come to my thing.
yeah. And that's the mindset I had in, and I wasn't prepared. So I really struggled with it and ended up leaving early, which I was gutted about because I really enjoyed it.
It was necessary for your process, and that's important.
It helped me to learn very clearly what I could and couldn't cope with. And I need to do a bit more research before I just go to events because I really, I just hadn't prepared myself for it. And had I done the research first, I would have been in a better position for it.
And so, and now you know that, say, you know, when we do the big festoon again and you're always welcome, to be prepared for it. And I think that, again, for things like speaking, showing up on social media, as you become more well-known, and that's a fear for people. Like, it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword for you. It's a double-edged sword for me, that at my events, I have to be flanked. I have to, like, to get to the toilet or to get to my dressing room, I have to have people either side of me to get me there.
Oh my God, I'd feel like such a diva doing that.
I mean, it's great because I'm famous, you know, but also at the same time, it's very strange. I actually have had experience of that since I was 19, and not because I was famous. I used to work in holiday resorts.
Right, yeah.
So and I was in entertainment in holiday resorts, and people would come on holiday, and for those 2 weeks, you were the celebrity. You were the person that knew what was going on. You entertainment of an evening, and people would come and ask for autographs and photos, and then never hear from them again. Like, you'd have this massive impact for this short amount of time and then never hit. So actually, what I've managed to do is reconcile myself with it's not real from a very, very young age. So I don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So, and for you, it's quite an affront that that's not something that you'd experienced a lot, like prior to COVID. And now coming out into the real world, that it is, of course, it's daunting. I've got 20 odd years experience of this, understanding, if not experiencing fame in the way that we would all understand fame, but understanding parasocial relationships very, very early on means that I can deal with it really well. It's easy for me to kind of...
And it's weird as well because it's in like these little chunks because, you know, you joke really famous. Obviously, I'm not really famous. I am well known in a very small corner of LinkedIn.
We can't go abroad and not be recognised, though.
Well, I mean, it's happened a couple of times, but again, like, it's not like walking down the street and there are crowds of people following my paparazzi. Yeah. It's very occasionally someone goes, "Oh, you're such and such," but I never know when it's coming. Right. And then it's that weird thing of, what if I do something that, like, what if I'm accidentally rude to someone, or what if I snap, or what if I'm yelling at my son because he's absolutely overstepped and someone knows me and sees it, and I'm like, that's not the version of me that I want people to see. And it's always that like feeling, you just never know.
Yeah.
And are they staring at me across the airport because they recognize me, or are they staring at me because they fancy me, or are they staring at me because I've got toilet paper stuck to my shoe?
I'm probably all three if it's you.
And because I'm such an awkward introvert, in my head it's all of them, and they're going to run over and either punch me because they hate me, and I'm just the most dreadful person ever, or they're going to say something weird, and I'm so awkward and an overthinker that I just create those. So just to wind this up, if someone's a business owner, they're a new business owner or an established business owner, and they're feeling like they don't know what is the thing that makes them different, that can be part of the lighthouse they create, that how do you help people, or what advice can you give people to kind of identify that thing that is going to stand out for other people to draw them in?
So it's really important when I first start working with people is to understand or help them and hold space for them to work out what their values are. I think because when you're very clear on your values, it's much easier to talk about your values when you're first starting out than it is to talk about your proposition.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's get really confident on what your values are. So, we have a shared value of creating community, and regardless of the polarity of the way that we do it, it's actually the same because it isn't about me and it's not about you.
That's why I'm bringing 10 of my community to your event this year. Like, it didn't put me off. I literally bought a table as soon as they went on sale.
So make it safe for you.
Yeah, but I know what to expect this year.
Yeah.
So I would be mentally prepared for it this year. So it's fine.
So, but understand, so holding space to really understand what your values are. So once you get really comfortable talking about your values, it's easy to then direct people. You start magnetizing people towards you then, because other people who have similar values will start to gravitate towards you. You're turning the right people on and the right people off. Then you can start to move them towards your proposition, right? It's easier when you've got a core set of values. So for us, it's we all do well when we all do well. We're enthusiastically inclusive. Like, we're joyfully curious if we don't understand something or someone. We want to understand their experience that's brought them to that way of thinking in order for us to either welcome them in or allow themselves to weed themselves out from the conversation. We do the things that we say we're going to do. Kindness is our superpower. Like, we eat, live and breathe and make every single decision in our business against those set of values. So getting super clear on that first, and then understanding there are 6 basic human needs that you need to fill in order for people to feel safe with you. So understanding that. People want certainty. So consistency. So if you know your values and you know your proposition, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
Because it becomes less about the thing that you're selling and more of the feeling that you're creating, the transformation and the reason why you care. People want connection first, then value.
Yeah.
So generating that with your values, then being able to provide basic human needs for people. Like, we know, talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that being like safety, security, Wi-Fi now. It is, isn't it? Like, it's my phone working, right, I'm safe. But actually, the basic human needs are certainty. So consistency of you turning up. You provide such certainty for your community, as do I. Like, if you go onto my socials.
I've been showing up on LinkedIn consistently almost daily for 5 years, and in their email inboxes, on Instagram, on Threads, on Facebook. Like, not for 5 years for all of them, but I'm there. Yeah. I'm in their eye line.
We can find you somewhere every day.
At least once a week, they will see me. The chances are.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
So no, we've got that. But that's not sorry for the people who love that. Yeah. It means that they have certainty from you. You're not going to drop them in it or leave them, or you're going to turn up. If I can check my phone every week, I know I've got some sort of vibe or value there from Leah. I can check in either, parasocially or even like, are you okay? Like that consistency. But we also need inconsistency, which is do we? Yes, we do. We need chaos. We need excitement. So if we think about, again, as us as animals, we need something to keep us on our toes. Yeah. We need something to be able to go, what's coming next. So if people come to me, go, what the fuck's she wearing now? What's going to come out of her mouth next? What is she up to now? Like, what continent is she speaking in this week? Or what event is she at now? Or she's at the television awards here, or she's in LA here. But the consistency with which I show up and the value that I give, plus the uncertainty of what the fuck I'm going to do next, generates that.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, that fills that need. Growth. So allowing space for people to grow, either their finances or their community or their knowledge or whatever. But we are, service providers in that, come to the HoLT, you're going to get a whole stack of not just your experience, but everybody who's within your provision. They're going to get incredible growth from that. And that's a human need. And the other, conversely, is contribution. So a space where they can go and contribute and go be a part of it, and they can either contribute through sponsorship financially, or they can contribute through their lived experience and add to the mosaic and not a melting pot of the communities that we're building. And that's an important thing as well. Like, I don't want everyone to be more like me, I want everyone to be more like them. And instead of being a melting pot where everyone becomes this like primordial soup of something, we're a mosaic, this beautiful mosaic of different lived experiences, and we can share those, and that helps with the growth. So contribution begets growth. So you create, look how well you do this, look how well I do that. And for people that are building audiences that want to be more visible, how can you do that? How can you get people to contribute to what it is that you're doing? How do your team contribute? So the other two are love and connection,
Yeah.
which is a given. So we're connected by this shared sense of values. And then the last one is significance. So your clients, your potential clients, want to be seen and want to be heard. And when you, within your messaging, can see and hear people, if not individually, as a group, like the no knobs situation. I have a no knobheads clause. Like, we didn't know this about each other before we even met, is that we have a no knobheads clause. And if you have to ask yourself,
I literally just found that out just as you said that, so I didn't know.
We do, yeah. And the whole thing is that if you have to ask yourself, am I a knobhead? Chances are you're probably not. You've got a bit of self-awareness. Am I a knobhead? Am I? Do you have to litmus test that? If you I couldn't possibly be a knobhead, you probably are, because you don't have that level of self-awareness about yourself.
Or if you're a knobhead, it's fine if you join, as long as you're not a knobhead to my people.
Yeah, you can't be a knobhead at someone.
I can't control what people's behaviour beyond the community and business. But if I find out that they're being knobheads in business to other members, There's a quick eject, right?
Yeah. And that's on purpose.
Yeah.
But what that means is that there is significance. There is, people want to be seen and heard. And when you are, and we go right back to the beginning now to this, you've got a gift, who are you not to share it? Yeah. That you get to provide that human need within somebody of significance. You're here, you created this business, and your listeners that are here and people that are in the HoLT, people that are in my community have created businesses to help people. And who are you not to do it? Take your ego out, stop thinking it's about you. It's not. It's about your values, creating that connection and serving your people. And when you settle into that, it's so much easier to be visible because it's not about you anymore.
And the thing is, there are so many things that we are willing to overcome fear for, like our kids. We would run into a burning building to save our pets, our children, our friends. And yet when we can save someone, or we can do something amazing for someone, we have a gift that the world can benefit from, or certain people within the world can benefit from. That sort of, you've got to think of it like this burning building, and these people are your children in that burning building. You can run in, you can save those people, you can do the thing that helps them to get a better life, in whatever way that looks like. And we'll overcome fear for so many different things, but like building your business, providing for your family, this fear is your burning building.
That is survival.
On the other side of it of running in towards that fear is something you really want, that's going to make yours and your family's life better. And that's it for me. Like, getting up on that stage, I was absolutely terrified, but I was like, do you know what? I'd want my son to be brave enough. I want to set an example to him, and I want to try and overcome this fear. It might be not for me, which it turned out it wasn't, but at least I gave it a go. And with every little thing, like confidence, you don't just start life confident. You learn confidence by doing scary things and surviving. And even if you don't repeat them, I'm not going to be jumping out of a plane again anytime soon. I did it, had a go. It was fun. It was terrifying. Not keen to repeat it.
You weren't keen to get back on again.
You don't have to keep doing them, but you will get better as a person. You will grow as a person every time you try and do something scary. And if you try and overcome it and it helps someone, God, it's worth it.
Absolutely. And think about all of those human needs, and then what you're providing for other people, you're actually creating for yourself as well. Oh yeah,
there's always a selfish benefit from it, 100% of the time.
And why not? Like, why not have your needs met? Why not, through the work that you do, and as long as, it's done with good intention, and as long as it's done with, we was talking earlier on sort of offline about, you can help people and make money. The two are not mutually exclusive. It's okay. And it's okay to make money with the things that give you joy. And yes, it's hard work and it's all of these things, and everyone will be doing it. It's easy, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? And we get to choose our difficult. For me, working in corporate every single day, doing the least amount of work for the most amount of money was more difficult than me trying to fill an arena with 5,000 people.
Yeah, it drained me as well. Like, working with corporates, as lucrative as it was, I hated it. And on that note, it's been such a fun talk. I know we've gone on, and it's probably going to be the longest episode we've had.
I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry.
No, don't, because I've enjoyed it. And like, even this one's decided
we've talked him to sleep.
Talked him to sleep, bless him. But it's been so much fun, and like all of the topics and all of, I feel filled when I've had a conversation with you. I think, but you have that effect on, I think, everybody you meet. And it amazes me that you have such capacity to give And I completely understand why you need to burrito yourself in your blankets to
Go and
recover.
snuggle up afterwards.
You just give endless amounts of energy to everybody that you meet. You pour into the people around you, and you're probably one of my favorite people that my business has led me to, because it's hard when you're constantly put on a pedestal to find those people that are ahead of you, that you look to as your lighthouse, as your beacon. Mm-hmm. And you definitely showed up in a big way and became one of mine. So it's been great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
And more walks up Rivington Pike.
Yes.
Or somewhere that's a bit flatter.
Maybe nice. A bit flatter. It was quite...
Supporting small business owners is my biggest passion, and that's what my membership community, the HoLT, is all about. Inside the HoLT are more than 150 masterclasses from experts in every business skill you could ever want, and we add more every single month. There are also sales clinics, tech clinics, wellbeing support and advice, and discounts on a huge range of software and services. But it's so much more than just trainings and resources. Everyone inside the HoLT shares their years of knowledge and experience generously, with kindness and without judgment. They're super active, the chat channels are buzzing, and it's like having 600 business cheerleaders in your pocket, willing you to succeed and helping you wherever they can. And we offer all of this and much more at an extremely low price, because we know that budgets are tight when you're bootstrapping a business. The HoLT is a kind, inclusive and non-judgmental place where everyone knows that working together is the fastest way to succeed, and it makes it a whole lot more fun. We would love for you to join us. You can check out the full details on the-holt.com. Or if communities aren't really your vibe and you just want access to the hundreds of expert masterclass recordings with a combined value of more than £10,000, you can access the Vault right now for just £20 per month. The Vault is all the masterclasses with none of the chat or distractions, just pure value. Visit the-holt.com/vault to sign up and start binging your way through brilliant trainings from leading experts.